Stop scrolling. If you're receiving SSI benefits, the next 7 days could directly impact your payment, and you need to know what's happening right now. This week marks a critical turning point for millions of SSI recipients across America. We're talking about potential payment adjustments, policy updates, and changes that could affect when and how much money hits your account. Whether you're already receiving benefits or waiting for approval, what unfolds in the coming days could make a significant difference to your financial situation. Here's why this week is absolutely crucial. The Social Security Administration is rolling out updates that many recipients don't even know about yet. We're seeing shifts in payment schedules, cost of living considerations, and eligibility requirements that could catch thousands of people completely off guard. Some beneficiaries might see increases, while others need to prepare for potential changes in their payment structure. And here's the thing: most people won't find out about these updates until it's too late to prepare. That's exactly why I've broken down everything you need to know in today's video. I'm covering the exact dates to watch, the specific dollar amounts involved, and the action steps you can take today to protect your benefits. Don't let these changes blindside you. If this information is helping you stay ahead of the curve, smash that like button right now. It helps us reach more SSI recipients who desperately need this information. Let's dive in. All right, let's get straight into what's happening this week, because timing is absolutely everything when it comes to your SSI benefits. I want you to understand something really important right from the start. The Social Security Administration doesn't always make a big announcement when changes are coming. Sometimes these updates roll out quietly, and if you're not paying attention, you could miss critical information that directly affects your monthly payment. That's exactly what we're seeing unfold right now, and I'm here to make sure you're completely prepared. So what makes this particular week so special? Well, we're in the middle of a transition period that happens every single year, but this year there are some additional factors that make it even more significant. The Social Security Administration has been processing cost of living adjustments, recalculating payment amounts, and updating their systems to reflect changes that impact millions of SSI recipients. Now, you might be thinking that cost of living adjustments are something you already heard about months ago, and you're partially right. But here's what most people don't realize. The implementation of these adjustments isn't always immediate, and there are often secondary effects that show up weeks or even months after the initial announcement. Let me break down exactly what's happening behind the scenes. When the Social Security Administration announces a cost of living adjustment, they're giving you the headline number, the percentage increase that sounds great in a press release. But the actual impact on your individual payment depends on a whole range of factors that are unique to your situation. Your living arrangement, your income sources, your state supplementation if you receive it, and even changes in your household composition can all affect the final number that lands in your bank account. This week, the SSA is finalizing these individualized calculations for millions of recipients, and that means some people are going to see adjustments they weren't expecting. Now, I want to talk about payment dates because this is where a lot of confusion happens, and I see questions about this constantly in the comments. SSI payments typically arrive on the first of each month, but when the first falls on a weekend or holiday, payments get moved to the last business day of the previous month. This creates a situation where some months you're getting 2 payments, and other months it feels like you're waiting forever for that next deposit. Understanding this schedule is crucial because if you're not prepared, you might think something went wrong with your payment when really it's just the normal calendar quirk that happens throughout the year. But here's where things get interesting this week. We're also seeing the Social Security Administration process what they call redeterminations and recertifications. These are the regular reviews where the SSA checks to make sure you still qualify for benefits and that your payment amount is correct based on your current circumstances. Now, if you've recently gone through one of these reviews, or if you have one coming up, this week could be when you see changes reflected in your payment. The SSA has been working through a significant backlog of these reviews, and they're trying to catch up on processing that got delayed over the past couple of years. What that means for you is that adjustments, corrections, or updates to your payment might be happening right now, even if you weren't specifically notified that something was changing this week. Let's talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention: state supplementation programs. Not every state offers additional SSI payments on top of the federal benefit, but many do, and the amounts vary wildly from state to state. Some states provide just a few dollars extra, while others add hundreds of dollars to your monthly payment. Here's the critical part. These state supplements often have their own adjustment schedules that don't always line up with federal changes. This week, several states are implementing their own cost of living adjustments or program changes that will affect the supplemental portion of SSI payments. If you live in a state that provides supplementation, you need to check whether your state has announced any changes, because this could mean additional money coming your way that you weren't even expecting. I also want to address something that causes a tremendous amount of stress for SSI recipients, and that's the interaction between SSI and other benefits. If you receive both SSI and Social Security retirement or disability benefits, the calculations become more complex. Your SSI payment is designed to bring your total income up to a certain level, so when your Social Security benefit increases, your SSI payment typically decreases by a corresponding amount. This coordination between the two programs happens automatically, but it can create situations where your total payment doesn't increase as much as you thought it would based on the announced cost of living adjustment. This week is when many of these coordinated adjustments are being finalized, and if you're someone who receives both types of benefits, you might notice that your deposits look different than what you calculated based on the percentage increase you heard about. Another crucial element that's happening right now involves income reporting and how that affects your SSI eligibility. The Social Security Administration has very strict rules about reporting changes in your income, resources, and living situation. If you've had any changes in the past few months, maybe you started receiving a small pension, or a family member moved into your household, or you inherited a modest amount of money, those changes need to be reported, and they could affect your SSI payment. This week, the SSA is cross-referencing reported information and processing adjustments based on changes that recipients have reported. If you reported a change months ago and haven't seen it reflected in your payment yet, this could be the week when that adjustment finally shows up. Now, let's talk about something that I think is incredibly important but often gets overlooked, and that's the maximum SSI payment amounts for individuals and couples. These amounts change every year based on the cost of living adjustment, but what many people don't realize is that very few recipients actually receive the maximum amount. Most SSI recipients have their payments reduced due to countable income or living arrangements that reduce the federal benefit rate. Understanding where you fall in this spectrum is essential because it helps you know whether you're receiving the correct amount. This week, as the SSA processes all these adjustments, it's the perfect time to review your own situation and make sure you're getting every dollar you're entitled to receive. Let me share something with you that might save you a lot of headaches. The Social Security Administration's online portal. If you haven't set up your My Social Security account yet, this week is the perfect time to do it. Through this online portal, you can view your payment history, see upcoming payment dates, check your benefit amount, and even report certain changes without having to call or visit an office. The reason I'm bringing this up this week specifically is because if any adjustments are being made to your payment, you'll often see them reflected in your online account before you receive any official notification in the mail. This gives you a heads up about what's coming and allows you to spot any errors or discrepancies early before they become bigger problems. Speaking of potential problems, let's address what happens if your payment doesn't arrive when you expect it, or if the amount is different than what you anticipated. First and foremost, don't panic. Payment delays can happen for a variety of reasons, and they're usually resolved quickly. However, you do need to take action. If your payment is more than 3 days late, you should contact the Social Security Administration to find out what's going on. Similarly, if your payment amount has changed and you didn't receive any explanation, you have the right to ask why and to request a detailed breakdown of how your payment was calculated. This week, with all these adjustments happening, it's especially important to pay close attention to what you're receiving and to speak up if something doesn't seem right. I want to spend a moment talking about overpayments because this is something that causes enormous anxiety for SSI recipients, and understanding how they work can help you avoid serious problems. An overpayment happens when the Social Security Administration pays you more than you were entitled to receive, and yes, they will eventually discover it and they will want that money back. Overpayments can happen for lots of reasons. Maybe you didn't report income promptly, maybe there was an error in how your benefit was calculated, or maybe circumstances changed and the adjustment wasn't processed quickly enough. This week, as the SSA is doing all this processing and recalculating, some overpayments are being identified. If you receive a notice about an overpayment, don't ignore it. You have rights and options, including the ability to request a waiver if paying it back would create a financial hardship, or to set up a payment plan that takes a small amount from each monthly check rather than demanding the full amount immediately. Now let's talk about planning ahead, because that's really what this information is all about, giving you the power to plan your finances effectively. When you know exactly when your payments are coming and approximately how much to expect, you can budget more effectively and avoid those stressful situations where you're not sure if you'll have enough money to cover your essential expenses. This week represents a kind of reset point where adjustments are being finalized and the payment amounts you'll be receiving for the next several months are being locked in. Take this opportunity to sit down and really look at your budget. Calculate your essential expenses, housing, utilities, food, medications, and make sure you understand exactly where your SSI payment fits into covering those needs. Something else I want you to be aware of is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly known as food stamps or SNAP benefits. Many SSI recipients also qualify for SNAP, and in most states, receiving SSI actually makes you automatically eligible for SNAP benefits. If you're not currently receiving SNAP and you're struggling to afford food, this is absolutely something you should look into. The application process varies by state, but the benefits can be substantial and can make a real difference in your ability to afford nutritious food throughout the month. I mention this now because with all the changes happening to SSI payments this week, it's a good time to review all your benefits and make sure you're accessing every program you're eligible for. Let's also address working while receiving SSI because this is an area where a lot of confusion exists. You are allowed to work while receiving SSI benefits, and the Social Security Administration actually has several programs and incentives designed to help you transition to work if you're able to do so. However, you must report your earnings, and your SSI payment will be reduced based on how much you earn. The formula is a bit complex, but generally the SSA doesn't count the first $65 of monthly earnings, and then they reduce your SSI payment by 50 cents for every dollar you earn above that amount. If you've started working recently, or if your work hours have changed, this week's payment adjustments might reflect those earnings. Understanding how work affects your SSI helps you make informed decisions about employment opportunities and helps you report your earnings accurately to avoid overpayments down the road. As we wrap up everything that's happening this week, I want to leave you with some action steps you can take right now to make sure you're in the best possible position. First, Check your bank account or payment card to verify that your most recent SSI payment arrived and that the amount matches what you expected. Second, if you haven't already, create or log into your My Social Security account online to review your payment information and see if there are any notifications or messages from the SSA. Third, gather any documentation of changes you need to report. Pay stubs if you're working, bills that show your living expenses, or any other information that might affect your eligibility or payment amount. Fourth, if you notice anything that seems wrong or if you have questions about your payment, don't wait. Contact the Social Security Administration sooner rather than later because these issues are almost always easier to resolve quickly than if you let them drag on for months. This week really is a pivotal moment for SSI recipients, and being informed and proactive puts you in control of your financial situation rather than feeling like you're just waiting to see what happens. The changes and adjustments that are being processed right now will set the stage for your payments going forward, and understanding what's happening helps you plan effectively and advocate for yourself if any problems arise. Stay informed, stay engaged, and don't hesitate to ask questions or seek clarification when you need it. These are your benefits, and you have every right to understand exactly how they work and what you're entitled to receive.